The Bloodline, the most powerful faction in WWE history, is teetering on the edge of collapse. The recent events on WWE Raw have sent shockwaves reverberating through the wrestling world, leaving fans at the edge of their seats and wondering just how far this family can go before it falls apart. Gunther, the dominant world heavyweight champion, has taken a ruthless step that may very well be the catalyst for the end of the Bloodline as we know it. In a brutal display of power, he attacked Jimmy Uso with such savage force that it left the former tag team champion crumpled in the ring, battered and broken. Jey Uso, his brother, watched helplessly from ringside, unable to do anything as his sibling was torn apart right before his eyes. But it wasn't just the attack itself that has everyone talking. The aftermath, especially what happened backstage, has left fans and analysts alike buzzing with questions. The silence was broken by none other than Roman Reigns, the undisputed head of the Bloodline, and Solo Sokoa, his enforcer and right-hand man. But their response to Jimmy's assault wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't anger, it wasn't fury, it wasn't even concern for family. Instead, Roman Reigns, in his usual calm, menacing tone, delivered a chilling message that sent ripples through the WWE locker room. The words hit harder than any steel chair shot. A cold, emotionless declaration from the tribal chief, who was seemingly indifferent to the brutal attack on his own family. It wasn't just a simple reprimand. It was a chilling statement that sent a wave of disbelief crashing over everyone. This wasn't Roman Reigns, the family leader. This was Roman Reigns, the calculating ruler, showing just how far his control stretched and how easily he was willing to discard anyone who failed to meet his high expectations. But it didn't stop there. Solo Sikoa, the silent enforcer, added his voice to the situation. "Gunther did us a favor," he said, his voice devoid of empathy, as cold as Roman's. The enforcer's words struck even deeper than his leader's. They made it clear that Jimmy's pain and suffering were nothing more than a lesson in tough love. A harsh but necessary reminder that weakness has no place in their family. This wasn't a show of concern. This wasn't about loyalty or support. It was about power. The message was simple. If you're weak, you will suffer the consequences. This was a moment WWE fans and superstars alike had been dreading. The day the Bloodline cracked. The day the facade of unity was shattered, and the rift between Roman, Solo, and the Usos became undeniable. But Jey Uso was having none of it. The emotional backbone of the Bloodline, Jey was already walking a fine line between loyalty to his family and his own desire for independence. And in that moment, everything came to a head. Watching his brother Jimmy, the other half of the legendary Usos, lying broken in the ring was the breaking point. Jey's heart shattered. But it wasn't just heartbreak that bubbled to the surface. It was rage, frustration, and the overwhelming sense that no one in his family truly cared about what was happening to him, or to Jimmy. As the tension backstage reached a boiling point, Jey exploded. "He's my brother!" Jey roared, his voice thick with emotion, raw with pain, and dripping with a mixture of betrayal and defiance. In a split second, Jey shoved Roman Reigns, sending the tribal chief stumbling back in surprise. The force of the shove was enough to leave even Roman momentarily stunned. It was the first time in history that Jey had ever physically confronted Roman, the man who had been his cousin, his leader, his tribal chief for so long. Jey's eyes burned with fury. The tears streaming down his face were not just tears of pain, but of frustration. "And you don't even care." His words hung in the air, each syllable like a dagger aimed at the very heart of the Bloodline. The tribe that Jay had once given everything for, the family that had promised loyalty above all else, was now in ruins, and the destruction was self-inflicted. The backstage area was thick with tension, a pressure so palpable it felt like the air itself was about to burst. WWE security rushed in, desperate to separate the two men before things escalated further. But Jay, his body trembling with anger and heartbreak, stormed off, leaving Roman and Solo standing there, unmoved. Roman's expression, cold and calculating as ever, betrayed no remorse, no regret. Instead, it was the look of a man who had made his decision. The cracks in the bloodline were no longer subtle. They were undeniable. This moment, more than any other, made it clear that the bloodline was no longer the united, unstoppable force it once was. Instead, it had become a ticking time bomb, and Jay's outburst had only increased the pressure on the fuse. Jey Uso, the wild card in this faction, had always been torn between his loyalty to his family and his desire to carve out his own legacy. For months, we've seen the strain building up inside him, as Roman's oppressive reign weighed down on him. But this moment, seeing his brother destroyed, hearing Roman's cold, callous response, could be the final straw that pushes Jay over the edge. The question on everyone's mind: could this finally be the moment Jey Uso breaks free from Roman Reigns' control? Fans have been speculating for weeks that Jay might turn his back on Roman, especially given his growing frustration with his cousin's tyrannical rule. The recent developments, though, have added more fuel to that fire. Jay's emotions, always an unpredictable force, have driven his past decisions. But with Jimmy's well-being now on the line, the stakes couldn't be higher. The idea of Jay aligning himself with someone outside the bloodline is gaining traction. Some fans believe Jay might seek out a powerful ally, perhaps even Seth Rollins, who has been vocal about his disdain for Roman's dominance in WWE. The thought of Jay joining forces with Rollins is a tantalizing one, offering the possibility of an explosive rivalry between the two factions, with Jay finally standing up for himself and the family he has tried so hard to protect. If Jay breaks free, it could signal the beginning of the end for the bloodline. Was this attack on Jimmy Uso merely an act of dominance, or was there something deeper at play? Some fans speculate that Gunther's actions might not have been purely personal, but rather a calculated move to break apart the bloodline, piece by piece. After all, Gunther isn't known for his kindness. His reign as world heavyweight champion has been built on pure, unrelenting brutality. But could it be that he's looking to make a statement, not just to the Usos, but to Roman Reigns as well? Could Gunther have been put up to this by someone else? Some theorize that Roman himself could have orchestrated this attack. We've seen Roman use Solo Sokoa to eliminate threats in the past, so why wouldn't he do the same with Gunther? What if this wasn't just about Jimmy or the Usos? What if this was a test for the bloodline? An attempt by Roman to see how far he could push his family before they finally turned on one another? The idea that Roman could be behind this attack, using Gunther as a pawn in his game, is a chilling thought. Roman's need for control has always been his greatest driving force. If Gunther is indeed trying to dismantle the bloodline from within, could it be that he's aiming for the throne itself? Is Gunther positioning himself to take Roman's place at the top of WWE? The entire WWE universe is still reeling from Gunther's assault on Jimmy Uso. This was more than just a beatdown. It was a message, a powerful statement that shook the very foundation of the bloodline. But while Roman and Solo's cold reactions were shocking, what happened next backstage has set the stage for a much larger conflict. Jey Uso, broken and emotional, reached a tipping point that no one could have anticipated. His outburst, his desperate plea for recognition, was the breaking point, the moment the bloodline as we know it fractured beyond repair. This situation runs much deeper than just one vicious attack. Roman's reaction shows that he no longer sees the Usos as valuable members of his empire. To Roman, they're merely tools to maintain his grip on power. His refusal to acknowledge the suffering of his family speaks volumes about his priorities. He has one goal: to remain in control, no matter the cost. Solo Sokoa, ever loyal to Roman, has proven time and time again that his loyalty lies with the tribal chief, not his brothers. But the real wild card is Jey Uso. After everything that has happened, it's clear that Jey has reached his breaking point. The question now is, will he finally make the ultimate decision? Will he stand up to Roman, break free, and carve his own path? As for Gunther, we're left wondering whether this was truly just a power play for the World Heavyweight Championship, or if there's something more to it. The way he dismantled Jimmy Uso was personal, and it wasn't just a fight for dominance. Could he be trying to send a message to Roman Reigns himself? If Gunther is trying to break apart the bloodline piece by piece, he may be on the cusp of an all-out war with Roman Reigns. And if that's the case, it could set the stage for one of the most brutal rivalries in WWE history. The road to WrestleMania is getting more chaotic by the day. Tensions are high, alliances are fraying, and the bloodline is hanging by a thread. One thing is certain: this isn't over. WrestleMania is fast approaching, and with it, the potential for one of the most explosive betrayals in WWE history. What happens next could change everything. Stay tuned.